Okay, so last night's homework, that you already have a few strategies that you could use to get to some of these answers. This one was having you focus, was hoping you focused on benchmark percentages. Jude, turn around. What are benchmark percentages? Jack? Yeah, ones that you should be able to do mentally. What do you think is the most common or easiest benchmark percentage? Reese, what could you find this percentage of really any number fairly easily? Okay, if you divide it by 2, what percentage are you finding? What percentage is that? If you take half of 10, you're finding what percent of 10? 50%. So 50% is probably the most common benchmark percent that's not 100%. You should be able to find 100% of any number. Next to that, 50% is probably the next most common one. Benchmark percentages is building off of that. If you know 50%, how could you easily find 25%? Nate? Welcome back to Earth. If you know 50% of a number, how could you easily find 25% of that number? Dividing your answer by 2. If you know 50%, how could you easily find 10%? Jack? Divide it by 5. If you know 50%, how could you find 60%? If you know 50%, how could you find 60%? Jack?
You already know 10% because you just said that.
Yeah, you know 50%, find 10% is 50% plus 10%, 60%. Yeah, that's finding benchmark percentages. It's using the easy ones, kind of breaking them down or breaking them down and building them back up to find other percentages. Okay, it's more mental math. Naomi?
Isn't 10% like the easiest percent?
50% is usually the easiest. 10, there are tricks to it. 10, if it's, you can just move the decimal point. So if you remember that trick. But most of 50%, for a lot of you, when I say what's half of something, you can all do that mentally. Okay, so this one we're going to focus on the mental math. If you got the right answer and did it different, is that okay?
Yes.
Yes, I'm just trying to show you the easy way to get there. Okay? So number 1, Nolan, how can we find 50% of a number quickly in our head?
You divide by 2.
Okay, we can divide by 2. So what is 50% of 1.6, Bryce? 50% of 1.6. No. Can't read your own writing. Jalen? 0.8. So that's 0.8 kilometers. Diego, this one made you think a little bit, but if we use what we know about 1A, Diego lives half a mile from school. What is 50% of half a mile? So we don't oftentimes divide miles in half regularly. Let's talk food, because 6th graders like food. Okay? If you have half of a sandwich, Cooper, and I say you have to give half of that to Addie, how much will you have left? 1/4 of a sandwich. Okay? But it follows the same idea. I'm going to work this one out mathematically. It's not that you can't process it. It's just this one's a little bit harder to process. We said if we have a number to find 50% of it, we can divide it by 2. How do I solve that problem mathematically? How do I do fraction division? Livy?
I was going to say that I took percentages. I put 1/2 is 50% and then divided it by 2. And then I got 25% and then I just
Okay. Okay. How do we solve this math problem? Chase?
You put the 2 at the bottom and have 1/2 as your. Wait, no. Yeah, 1/2 as your. What's the other thing? Yeah.
So, first, to divide fractions, we have to have 2 fractions. I think that's what Chase was trying to say. We first have to have that as a fraction. What is my rule for dividing fractions? What is my rule for dividing fractions, Dane? Multiply by the reciprocal. Or that means keep the first one the same, flip the second, change the sign to multiplication. How do I multiply two fractions, Ethan? Straight across. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 1 is 2. Wait, what? I didn't flip it. As I say, I multiplied by the same thing. Times, flip 1/4. Okay, that one was the hardest one to do mentally. But again, anytime it's a label that you have a hard time picturing, think food. Okay? You guys all like food. Number 2. Without the table, this would have been a harder problem. Why did the table help us? Why was the table beneficial? Livy? Yeah, they kind of already put everything where it needed to be, so I didn't have to put much thought into it. How do we get from 10 to 100? Times 10. What's 35 times 10? 350. So that's times 10 times 10. So it would be $350. Why does it make sense that the number I was looking for is with 100%? Haley, why does it make sense that it's paired with 100% on my table? Because that is the whole, the original price. What was the whole price of the laptop before it went on sale? Why does it make sense that 10% is paired with $35 on the table? Jack?
Because it says there's a 10% off sale.
Okay, there's a 10% off sale, so they got 10% off, which was the same as $35 off. Those two are equivalent. One is as a percent, one is as a dollar amount. This one was a little bit trickier. Your class probably had it easier because I didn't do one of these examples for 6D yesterday. In these 3 problems, what does it give us in all 3 of them? Sadie? The part and the whole, and it asks for a percent. Which one is the part? Jalen, which of those numbers are my parts? Oh, yeah, they're all 3 of these. The ones that are to, oh my goodness. The ones that are with right next to is, kind of all by themselves. These ones are all my parts. That means these ones are all my wholes. So for A, to set it up, you would write part over whole, which is a fraction. If you reduce that by 15, you would get 1/2. What percentage is the same as 1/2, Sophia? 50%. Now, let's say you don't notice that, and you look at 15 over 30, and you don't know that that can be reduced. Hopefully all of us do by that point. How else could I get the percent? What else could I do to get a percent if I'm given a fraction? Jack? Because is a fraction a division problem? So if I type in 15 divided by 30, will that give me a percent? That'll give me a decimal, but then hopefully something triggers in our brain. 0.5 is 50%. Okay, so there's different ways to get to the answer. I'm just trying to show you the easiest. 3 is what percentage of 12? Our part would be 3. Our whole would be 12. That reduces to 1/4. If you don't realize that 1/4 is 25%, you could do 1 divided by 4. And that would give us 0.25, which is 25%. But again, if you have this memorized, you could go straight from there to there and skip all that middle work. Last one. The part was 6. The whole is 10. Jude, what percent is that? 60%. Because we have options. We could just know that that's 60%. Or if we did times 10, that would be 60 over 100. And if you can get it over 100, the percent is the numerator. Number 4. Noah says to find 20% of a number, he divides the number by 5. For example, 20% of 60 is 12 because 60 divided by 5 equals 12. Does Noah's method always work? Why or why not? What do you think, Jude?
I put no.
Why?
Because like on some numbers it wouldn't work.
So give me a number that you can't divide by 5. Nate?
36.
So type in 36 divided by 5. See if it says no answer. So can you take 36 divided by 5? Can you take 87 divided by 5? Can you take pi divided by 5? Yes, you can take any number divided by 5. You just won't necessarily get a whole number. Where did the divide by 5 come from? Jack?
It works because 20 times 5 is 100, or then 100 divided by 5 is 20. So then if you do that, you'll find 20%.
Okay, so he is saying 100%. You guys all know what 100% is. If you know 100% of a number, you have that number, correct? How do you get from 100% to 20%? Divide it by 5. So if you know the number, could you always divide it by 5 to get 20%? Yes. Another reasoning, you could have said that 20% is the same as 1/5. To take 1/5 of a number, what math do you do? Divide it by 5. So that one was yes. And it's because if you know 100% of the number, which would just be the number, to get to 20%, you can always just divide by 5. There's lots of different ways you could have explained that. But it is yes. And I want you to get over, I can't divide everything by 5. You can divide any number by any number. You just won't always get a whole number. Can't divide by 0. Okay, last one. Diego has 75% of $10. Noah has 25% of $30. Diego thinks he has more money than Noah, but Noah thinks they have an equal amount of money. Who is right? Explain your reasoning. To answer this one, you would have to find both of those amounts. So I'm going to write out 75% of 10, and this is for Diego. And we have to find 25% of 30. Now, since this is the benchmark lesson, I'm going to use benchmark percentages. Ethan, what did we say is the easiest benchmark percentage to find? 50%. If I find 50% of 10, what is it? What's 50% of 10? Of 10? 5. Okay, so 50% is 5. How can I use that to help me get the rest of my answer, Naomi?
You can find 25%.
Because I know that 75 is 50% plus 25, okay? How could I find the dollar amount for 25% if I know 50% is 5? Nope, making it too hard.
Well,
If
5 is equal to 25 cents, so it would just be like 0.25 cents.
So let's go backwards. Naomi, what's half of 10? 5. So that's 50%. So if I know 50% is $5, how can I find 25%? Divide it by 2. There we go. Because it's half of 50. So what is 5 divided by 2, Haley? $5 divided by 2. 250. So Cooper, what is $5 plus $7.50? So Diego has $7.50. Diego has $7.50. And that's not the only way to get there, but that's using benchmark percentages, which is what this lesson was over. Okay, if you got $7.50, did you do it correctly? Yes, you could have used a double number line. You could have done a tape diagram. There's lots of different ways you could have gotten there. For the other one, for Noah, let's use benchmark percentages. I'm going to go with the easy one that we can all do mentally. What is 50% of 30? Reese, what is 50% of 30? 15. Chase, how can I use that to find 25%?
Divided by 2.
Yeah, divide it by 2. What's 15 divided by 2?
750.
750. Who was correct? Bryce? Noah was correct because they both have $7.50. Why did Diego have a pretty common misconception? What common misconception do you think he had? Jack?
He had 75% or something.
He saw a higher percentage and assumed that would be a higher amount. Why does that really not matter? Jude?
Because Noah has more money.
They have the same amount of money
Well, I know, but like,
because Noah's whole is larger. Noah's whole is larger. Now let's compare those. How do we get from Diego's whole to Noah's whole? Times 3. How do we get from Diego's percentage to Noah's percentage? Divided by 3. If those are complete opposites, that means they're really it'll be the same. Kind of, yes. Inverse operations, but yeah. Okay? Okay. Close your books. You have to listen for a second. I'm going to write this on the board so you know what to do. Your weekly worksheet is due tomorrow. Okay, really at the beginning of class is when that is due. I looked this morning, and as of this morning, about 5 people between the 2 classes had it finished. Okay? Let's review those words. Okay, there are 4 of them. I highly suggest you have your notes handy when you work through those IXL skills. Because in one skill, it might ask you for the mean, it might ask you for the median, the mode, or the range. That's 4 different types of problems, and you just learned them. So do you have them all memorized yet? No. Let's go through them. I'm going to start with the easy one. How do you find the mode? Mode. Dane? The number that occurs most often. So the number, if you look at it and there's 3 7s and not 3 of anything else, then your mode is 7. Okay? The second easiest one is the median. How do you find the median? Haley?
The numbers in order from least to greatest and then the one in the middle.
Yeah, they have to be in order from least to greatest, and then it is the number in the middle. An easy way to remember that it's the middle is you need some more vocabulary. Okay, I want you to imagine you're driving to Fairview Heights. What kind of road do you typically take to like Fairview Heights? Nolan?
The interstate.
The interstate. That's the road where there's like multiple lanes going in the same direction. You know how there's like a grassy area in the middle? Do you guys know what that's called? It's called the median, okay? The space between the interstates, the middle area is called the median. Median is middle, okay? In math, it's the number in the middle, but they do have to be in order from least to greatest. Range. We have to do math to find range, but it's an easy math problem. Sadie?
Take the biggest number and the smallest number and subtract.
Yeah, the highest minus the lowest. Okay, so like in math, I would find the range by finding whoever had the highest math grade and whoever had the lowest math grade. So if the range was 4 on a math test, what does that mean? If the range was 4, what does that mean? Jack?
Like, so the highest person could have gotten like 100%, and then the lowest person could have gotten like a 96%.
Okay, but it also means, so 196, or they could have gotten a 54 and a 50. So all it tells me is everybody did about the same. Does it tell me if everybody did really well or not well? No, it just tells me they all did about the same. What is the last one? The hardest one to calculate, but the one we use most often? Naomi,
So you add all your
what's it called? The mean or the average, okay?
So you add all your numbers together and then you divide it by how many numbers there are.
Yeah, you add up all of the digits, you find the sum of all the numbers, and then you divide by how many there are. That's how your grades are calculated. Okay, that's how free throw percentage, all of those percentages that you hear, batting average, that's all, add up all the totals, divide it by how many numbers you added together. Okay, so have your notes handy when you work through those. That is due tomorrow. That's number 1. Okay, the second thing is your assignment for today. In just a second, you're going to get out a piece of loose leaf and you're going to title it Con Assignment times 3. Don't move yet because you quit listening when you're moving. Times 3. And then under that, you're going to write due Thursday, tomorrow Thursday, by 3 p.m. There are, quit moving, listen. Okay, we're not opening Chromebooks yet. There are 17 questions because I think it's 7, 7, and 4. The Khan Academy assignments are over all of the percentage stuff we've talked about so far. There's benchmark percentages, there's tape diagrams, and tables, I think, kind of mixed in there, double number lines.
If we mess up, I'm allowed to redo it?
If you finish everything first, you're not allowed to redo anything until weekly worksheet is done and all 3 assignments are done. Hold on, keep listening, keep listening. You will have the rest of class period today to work. You will have all of class tomorrow to work. Okay? Plan accordingly. You may or may not have study hall tomorrow. We do have an assembly for jump rope for heart, I believe. It starts at 2. I don't know how long it will last. Okay? But I am giving you class time today and class time tomorrow to work. I don't care which of them you work on. This should be done when you get here tomorrow. This is due before you leave tomorrow. Does that all make sense? Okay? You are able to use a calculator on both of those. Yeah, if you want to get it done tonight, so you're done and don't have to worry about it, that's fine. If you don't have your weekly worksheet done before you leave school today and you don't have any of the Khan Academy assignments, I would suggest you work on some at home. Okay? You can use a calculator on both, but do you think you have to show work? Yes.